Welcome to my daily practice at Wendy Coad Art. If you find this video interesting or helpful, please consider subscribing to my channel and liking the video.
Hi, my name is Wendy and I'm an artist. I've been an artist my whole life and I am excited to invite you into my studio and show you my art practice. I'm going to be painting today, maybe on the tables, but definitely on the walls here. And let's see. I'm going to get started pretty quickly. I was just about to turn these panels over and then I thought, why wouldn't I paint on this side first and then turn them over? So that's what I'm going to do. Now, I've been working on these for maybe a week. All, I don't know, 24, 36 paintings that I have on the go at any one time. And I'm always kind of surveying where they are at in terms of balance, in terms of variety, in terms of color combinations, and I use a lot of color. I mean, I do. This is not monochromatic by any means, and sometimes the color balance gets skewed a little bit. Either it's too warm, or it's too cool, or it's too bright, or it's too dark, and I have to, manage that. I have to make decisions as I go along, what I'm going to do next, and in what proportions I'm going to do it. But, I don't think about this as I'm working, and I've noticed in the videos, it's a little, it's a little hard for me to keep talking when I'm working. I have not yet developed the skill of voiceover or putting some music in there. So I'm going to work on that for the future. Not for me, but for you. I'm fine with that being in the zone, and I struggle with trying to layer too much of the entertainment, which is not strictly entertainment. I know as a viewer, it's more interesting to have things keep moving. But really, as an artist, time stops. I could be walking around looking, picking up a brush, painting for hours and not say anything for sure, but be thinking very little about most things and really only about these questions. Is there balance? Are the colors working? Where does it need a little more calm in, any particular surface area? Should I introduce line? Are the blocks dominating in the way that I want, or should I introduce some of the paint strokes, which are more linear, a little bit more, depending on the width of the brush, of course, and then with the atlas pages, am I done? Because I don't. My purpose is not to really overdo these images, the pages with the maps, because I love that. My purpose is to add some painterly elements, and also I don't know, there's a lot of things that come to my mind when I look at each individual page. It's a map. It's not a photograph of the earth or any location on the earth. So what am I looking through? Are these clouds? Are these, because these are bird's eye views, which is really pretty special. Of course, not on the text. This reminds me of the old telephone books, actually, which I love. And, but it's so interesting, this kind of step down or step up, step over, These are representations of earth, of land, of place, of location, of places that are populated where people live and go about their daily lives or not. They're desert or mountains or whatever. And there's all of these translations. There's the translation on a picture plane, on a piece of paper, a two-dimensional surface, but the map is a pictograph. I'm not just sure the right word. It's a, it's an idea. It's not a photograph. It's not a perfect representation. It's a, you know, uh, an idea of the representation that we've all learned to understand. And then this is the text. These are letters that describe by name and by uh, latitude and longitude and the reference on the map. I mean, atlases are pretty amazing things. And this history of map making, it goes way, way back. And it's changed forever, like most things in our lives are changed forever. It's not exclusive to our time. There have been these cataclysmic shifts in our knowledge base and in the way that we make marks, and what those marks describe. Um, but this is definitely one of them, because now it's Google Maps, right? So these have become obsolete, and therefore I take the liberty, which would not happen probably when they were more essential. But I'm grateful for these old maps that apparently are no longer needed, because I love to paint on them, and I'm doing the same thing. I'm making marks. I'm marking territory in a way, and I'm adding to that lineage. And I'm doing it with another milestone, although it's not as current as the Google Maps, which is really within this century. Um, but I'm but by the middle of the last century, or even the early part of the last century, when abstraction began. So abstraction is over 100 years old, and that's pretty interesting in the history of art, because there was no abstraction before. I mean, not to the people who were living. There was no need for it. It didn't do anything. It was like dirt on the wall, or I mean, and some people to this day hold that hold that belief. Um, but it's a different way of describing. It is taking out, and yeah, photography had a lot to do with it. Took 100 years, but photography kind of um, moved the necessity for the representation that these fabulous artists from the past, like, you know, Leonardo da Vinci and Rembrandt and all of these, who came before, very important, very, exalted. And But there's no real need to paint like them anymore. They painted, and if you need to record something realistic, then you have the camera. Now, of course, you can work representationally, and I guess, like, it's not surrealist, but I'm not sure who would be credited with first. Not the surrealists. I'm thinking of Malevich. Uh, with these uh, odd figures that move more towards the abstraction than they do towards the representational. Anyway, well, I didn't think I was going to start with a little lecture on art history, but here we are. So abstraction is a representation of you know, the thoughts and the direction of art in the last 100 years. It's one, I know, one of several streams. And I worked with the narrative until quite recently. So I'm not like, you know, um, I'm not against it. Uh, I loved it, but the narrative is, well, it's not my area of interest at this point in time. And what I love about abstraction is that it allows for an energy um, to be interpreted, to be experienced, and then it's up to the individual as to where they take it, or how they interpret it, or what they see. I, for many years, really did not want to give people prompts what they should see or what I was seeing when I was doing the work or what I was thinking. But, you know, that's easier for people who are in the field to navigate than it is for people who are joining the field or expanding their horizons in the field. And so, you know, welcome. That's why I'm here. I want to share these experiences along with along with the practice. Basically, I'm modeling what I do in a day or in an hour, or you'll get it probably in 15 or 20 minutes of video, and it's rich and it's deep and there's a lot that goes on, and I realize that I fail to explain or to reference all of that depth and richness as I move through my painting practice and my day. But I just want you to know it's um, it's a pretty special place to be present in the moment and to be creating. Creating is an amazing opportunity for growth, for personal development, for practice, being in the present, for using your mind, for using your limbs. It's pretty much a whole body experience because of all the movement. And I love that, the arc of my arm. You see that all over my work. It's the arc of my arm, and how fast I can move from one place to the other. I call it dancing, but I don't want to, you know, I don't want that to overlap with real dancing, because it's really just the movement that I gather when I build momentum in my painting practice. Okay, so thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Let's get started. So as I said earlier, I always look to see where, you know, there's I call it problems, but they're not real problems. They're just imbalances, where the imbalances are. And I'm going to move into getting some of the pigments together. I think I'm going to work on the back wall first, because I see a need there. It's like an emergency. Back wall, the back wall is calling. It's mostly Yeah. It's mostly on the left side. So there's a little bit of that fluorescent here, so which I'm kind of liking. It's a bit like some kind of a traffic sign. Hmm. That didn't quite work, but I still have paint on here, but it's not moving down to where I need it to be, so that when I make contact with the paper, it's transferring. So let me just add some things here. And I'm going to start over here. So it's kind of nice. When I have paint on my squeegee and I pull it across the surface, it gets deposited, distributed pretty thinly, because there's kind of a scraper action. And I'm just noticing that when I do not have that scraper action, oh, I don't know why this is giving me a hard time, then, there's kind of a texture that's created, which is really quite pleasant. I'll try and get a camera to show you. I think I'm going to do that right now. Let's move over here and show you that texture. Can you see that texture? There's a little bit of it down here. This is actually my favorite. Can you see that texture? Just down at the, there it is. Well, I'm not sure if that came across, but that's what I'm talking about. And I'm going to continue. It doesn't take much to create a contrast, to create a kind of a variation. And, the white that I'm using is not white. It's kind of like pigeon dove gray, very, very light gray, which I kind of like. Might be because it's gray outside today. I'm stepping on my stencils. I have my stencils drying at my feet here. Yeah, these colors are best suited for a more textured kind of a lighter touch so that there's more texture on the surface. It's kind of drag behind. It's really worlds within worlds when you paint and abstractly, and things just flow. They flow from the imagination as much as they flow from the squeegee or the paintbrush itself. Okay, so that's enough for that side. Let's see what we can do on the other side. I'm sure there's plenty to do, and yes, there is. I have to practice not lifting these things. So just taking them like, I remember when I first saw the information about how they moved those great Easter Island sculptures, those big totems, those huge faces that were on Easter Island. And they finally figured out that, that the people, the indigenous people who made them, with tons and tons, with how would they move them without mechanical support? Well, without electrical support, I guess, mechanical, because they move them, with wires, like what I'm doing now. So corner to corner, and I'll tell you, that's a very, very efficient way to move heavy doors when you're not built for moving heavy doors. Wow, do you see the difference in the energy with these colors and lines? There's both have the kind of flags, as I call them, and the brush strokes. However, this side has more of a blue, more of a more lyrical. I had some more geometric shapes on the other side. So let's see what a little hot pink will do. Sometimes it works and sometimes it does not. But let's just see. Having trouble with this paint. It's starting to gum up on me. I'm not just sure why. Oh, darn. All right, I'll have to. Now, it's not like there's not plenty of warm colors in here. There's plenty of reds and pinks and oranges, but they're dominated by this blue for now. Just one little movement, just one little stroke, but not that one, will shift run out for the last one. Yeah, I'm going to put some more paint on. I'm just going to have to open this up a little bit more. There we go. That seemed to work. It goes for a minute or a few seconds and then it just bogs down again, but I'll keep persisting. This one's been good. Oh. Didn't expect it to be as vibrant. I don't know why, because the colors that I use are used here are definitely vibrant. All right, well, let's see what we have on the other side here. I really do forget what's on the other side temporarily. Oh, I see. These are more like a set. Well, I'm going to leave them like this. Just taking a minute to marvel at the balance of, how the greens and blues dominate, come forward. And here, there's greens and blues, not the same proportions, but there's plenty. And yet the reds and the oranges seem to dominate. And that's what I'm working with now. I sometimes like to fill the space between these drips, like they create these little furrows, and I sometimes just try to fill that space. And there's a little paint left over. I'm going to bring it, maybe not. There we go. Just bring it atmospherically up through some of this. It's just like a blush. But, that can actually have an impact. I'm going to stop there. I feel like I'm going to make a mess, which is not a bad thing, but I'm going to stop there. So thank you for joining me today. And now, go make some art. So I'm so happy that you are joining me today, and maybe other days too. I'll take you through my day-to-day as an artist, and I look forward to seeing you on the next tape. Thanks for being here.